But okay.
Hey, buddies, I realized that I haven't actually done one of these political compass tests before.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the political compass test because I feel like some of the questions are more loaded than others, and some of them definitely way more. Some of them, change your outcome a little better, and a lot of them feel like more common sense based, and a lot of them feel like, well, this makes sense, but do you really believe it?
You think I would have over the years, but I don't think I did. At least not on a video. So because this test recently remade the rounds on Twitter for some reason that I don't know.
So I'm not gonna like sit and like flame the dude. I don't want to be like, I'm a certain way on Twitter to where I have the anonymity to be sort of like, baity, be mean, be whatnot. And I want it to be more just good faith and just sit and just watch and listen. I'm not gonna like sit and listen and watch the whole video. I'm not gonna like take your shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've watched you for a little bit. You can see that I'm subscribed and I have been for a while. And for the most part, I just don't want you to think I'm coming in it and here to just make fun of you. Like I'm just here to listen to like what I've seen and what you put down.
Um, I literally just retook this. I'm exactly where I was in 2015 and in 2010. My politics haven't really changed. Actually, it turns out, when I took it in 2015, this red dot was actually like one square to the left.
The one thing I don't understand, I guess it's like a typo. You said more to the left. I do feel that I don't know how to put it, but I feel like there has been more of people's political awakenings, and they definitely kind of push different. And I don't know if that's modern politics or if that's just getting older. I mean, whenever I was younger, I was like a big anti SJW and everything. And I sat and I watched everything. I felt on the pipeline, and I definitely felt more right leaning than my friends. Even though I wasn't completely against them, I still had the, I still had that anti-social bias to where most of them would be left, and a lot of the times I would be left, but then I always have like this weird sense of like, ugh, there's some left shit going on, SJW and everything. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely gone left, especially with the politics now. I have kind of fell into a normalized place to where I don't really fall for the YouTube anymore. Anyway.
So I guess I've like shifted just slightly leftward over time, but I've always been about this far down. Like, I mean, these tests change every time you take them, right? Like sometimes you kind of hover around this area. If you're me, I've been a bit further down the libertarian scale before. I've been a bit further right and further left, but I've always been around here, so I'm not surprised. And I've always been there. I was there in 2010. I was there in 2015. I'm there in 2020. But yeah, my politics haven't changed. What's changed?
Is that a good sign though? Do you really feel that that has more of an impact on the videos you make and don't actually try to like push yourself to learn, because sometimes it feels that you are kind of stuck in your own audience? And I feel like as someone who was part of the and watched a lot of like TJ Kirk anti-SJW things, I do feel that once that kind of ended, we have a new generation of anti-gamergators who kind of went left, or not left, right, sorry. And I seen a lot of them go neo-Nazi, or they've gone moderately more antisocial, but still like economically. And I feel like from what I've seen economically from you, you're more right leaning conservative, but then like I don't think you're completely against things. Like I do think there is an issue of the like Scott Pilgrim video. I do think there are some other things going on where maybe economically because you're against communism, but I feel like social democracy, you could take that approach and not change your audience or views, because you can still be you can still be the anti-social politics, but still be like leftist in your economics. But I still think you should have some understanding of what's going on socially.
Changed is that people didn't used to call me a fascist back in 2010 for existing down here. Now the common belief is that if you're not getting more left over time, you might as well be in the blue square, and that's the case. That's the case. If you exist here, or you exist anywhere in here.
Okay, so I don't think I may have, out of jest, called you a fascist, but honestly, I think you kind of lean more conservative, and that's the issue. Like, socially, politically, you kind of do and are against Black Lives Matter. You do have, like, your anti feminism, and a lot of people see those as, like, the two main oppressed, and you kind of do come from a place of privilege of being a man and being white, to where it definitely, your politics can kind of be more white centric and male centric, especially since we're pushing more left. And I feel that maybe if you had more of an understanding of the social, and understanding that, like, you know, some of your politics are white male, you know? Like, you do have the ability of not being scared of the cops. You don't have to deal with misogyny unless you deal with it from your parents. But I think as a person, you've kind of been more free, so I can understand as a libertarian. But I do feel as though being anti BLM does kind of fall a little short, but I think economically you should kind of check your points and kind of see where they are. But I think it's just all a matter of what you put on the compass test and what I've seen, and I think I really need to get to that.
People who are like on this final edge here, these final two columns, they treat you like you're up here. It's kind of ridiculous. But this test isn't the greatest, so I figure it might be worth doing the 8-axis and just kind of going over it, right? You know, why not? Why not? We all know about this, right? Equality versus markets, nation versus world, liberty versus authority.
So I really don't feel... So whenever it comes to right versus left, I don't feel like the extreme left. So there is an issue, right, that a lot of the conservatives don't understand, because they have somewhat of unity. But libs and left and everything, we kind of have a lot of infighting, and it's very bad, because some people are more social, some people are more economically, and we do have some people that are tankies. We do have some people who are kind of for communism no matter what. We do have people who worry more about, like, Black Lives Matter than they do our democracy and our Democrats. And I think that's kind of your issue with Shu too, is that you kind of see her, like, politically, socially, you see her the same, and that's where you came with values with her. But then now that she's more going economic, you're against her economically. And I'm hoping to see, like, the questions and how you answer them. And I know I'm a little bit rambly, but I'm gonna start cutting it down, and, definitely making sure I listen to what you say and how you answer, and try to give, like, a good enough perspective of it. Because, like I said, I'm not gonna sit through the whole video. I might skip through it a bit, but I really, really, just want to have, like, good faith.
Authority and tradition versus progress. Those are the 4 axes: economic, diplomatic, civil, and societal. Let's do it. You will be presented with a series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. Okay. Oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. I disagree. And the main reason that I disagree is because of the government's monopoly on violence, on the legitimate use of force. A corporation can't simply kill you. The government can if it's tyrannical. That's the difference. That's not to say that I don't think corporate oppression isn't real. It very clearly is. It is a serious problem. It needs to be dealt with. However, I think that government oppression has more of a capability to be destructive. So I will just slightly disagree.
So you put disagree, and that's fine. I definitely understand your point. So I feel that oppressed by governments is kind of a vague term, especially the way like, as a white person, you don't really kind of see that like oppression the same, and I feel that through like redlining and everything that's gone on with the black community, they are oppressed by governments, and we do have things that aren't inherently racist, but they do come. So I do feel as though, like, if you did deal with a lot of these already oppressive measures that we use, or they use, that you would kind of have a different perspective, but I don't think you've been oppressed by the government. Maybe free speech, but that's, a whole different thing. I do more worry about oppression by your job, because there definitely is a quality of life to working, and I think that oppression, like by your government, is oppression from the corpse, and it does suck, because I do feel as though, like, whenever your government runs good, like with the whole idea of communism, of owning your means of production. If I'm working my 40 hours every day, 2 weeks, I feel like that I would feel better if I owned a little bit more of the company, and I don't feel like I'm taking it away from anybody, even though you think I'm taking it away from the Waltons. I'm still taking my share of what I own. And me personally, I'm not a full communist, but I do definitely feel that the worker should own more, and we should try to encourage the idea of workers being more satisfied with their jobs, more pushed into their jobs, more economically like invested, and try to make their jobs better. And I do feel like we are oppressed by both, but saying that the government one is worse, I feel like if you're not by your government, then you are by your corpse. But I feel like the corporations. So I may be long-winded, but I kind of feel that you know your government, you still have the ability to go get a job and work, but I feel like whenever you're being underpaid and overworked, it's definitely worse.
It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. I slightly agree with this. Yes, only slightly. And it's
Yeah, I mean, me too, definitely, especially whenever we need like medicine and everything, and we just don't want our people to die by a faulty product.
because there are areas in which there are natural monopolies, and if that's the case, and competition won't actually help
Yeah,
the
you're
the
right.
service become higher quality, then the government does have some kind of a mandate there to step in and make sure that people have access to the service fairly. However, most monopolies are created by the government, but in those few cases where monopolies aren't created by the government, then the government actually has a mandate to get in there. So, yeah, I agree. The freer the markets, the freer the people. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you can just choose what you want to do with your time, your money, your energy.
So, you say you're against communism, my dude, but with the idea of having less corporations and more co-ops, we do have the ability to make more smaller owned shops with ran differently. And I do feel like that would be better for the free market. Oops, sorry, than I do the commodity we have now. And I I do agree. You're right, but for different reasons.
Energy, your labor, you can just choose, choose in the market what you want to do. Yes. It is better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure welfare for all citizens.
So definitely you can have both. Before I see and argue this point, definitely as anybody who's watching, you can do both.
Now, while welfare for citizens is obviously good, that's generally left to the individual to create for themselves.
Okay, so with the idea of a balanced budget, when you say it's for the individual, why can't we have both? You can tax the government to maintain the balance and ensure welfare and have balance. I mean, honestly, we may spend more, which is not, but I feel like it'd be more balanced to tax the rich and make sure we have the commodities.
So I think for the government, it is better to maintain a balanced budget. So I'm gonna like slightly agree.
But the problem is, you agree with this, but it doesn't. The balanced budget doesn't mean anything because if you're not using the money, you're just putting it in smaller and smaller places. So, the balanced budget, taxes are being paid, but who's getting what? And that's the problem with these like superficial questions. And I feel like I would want to hear more from you, especially when it comes to something like that.
Publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. I'm neutral. I'm neutral on this because I think research, no matter where
I don't have an opinion, honestly.
it comes from, is at least a tool. There's obviously biased research. There's obviously
Like, I do feel that more public funded is better because, our taxes definitely do make sure things get paid, but leaving it to the market, I don't. I feel like just waiting for like a government or like some sort of corporation to just pay you so you can do your research. I feel like we should definitely take our money and put it more into that kind of thing.
lots of problems with research.
So I guess
We've
I
seen
do
the
have an
scandals coming
opinion.
into the academic sphere recently, where studies are kind of falsified and
So, okay, I feel like good point, but I feel like coming from you, there is a right-leaning bias, and I do hope that you definitely mean that most studies there are some biases to it and you can make any study true, but I do feel like we should be able to take studies by face value.
people can't recreate them and this and that. But I think if the research
That would be something I would like to see, like if you were to expand on it, this point right here, I would like to see more because I definitely feel that you're speaking, but I feel like it's more of an opinion and made up. And if I do look it up myself, I probably could find it, but I feel like that'd be something I'd like to hear from you.
is good, it doesn't matter where it comes from. So neutral. Tariffs on international trade are important to encourage local production. I slightly agree. Yes, especially because we're dealing with someone like China who has no problem just destroying their own population in a race to outdo the United States and eventually overtake them.
So tariffs, right? Tariffs on international trade. I do slightly agree with you. I think the Red China scare is kind of cringe, but it does help to keep businesses in America and pay our taxes in America. But I feel like it doesn't really matter because if they're out of the country, they're not paying their taxes, and if they're in the country, they're not paying their taxes. So
yes, slightly agree.
I think you are generally right, though. I don't, like I said, I'm not trying to like contradict you. I kind of just am taking your points.
From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Strongly disagree because I'm not a fucking Marxist.
To each of his ability, to each of his need. So, honestly, though, like, that's not fair. That is not a fair one because that's the one that gets me, right? Because I feel like if we had a fair government, people who are handicapped can just have their needs. And I do feel as though it is fair. Like, why does it matter, though? Like, I feel like the idea of giving people money and just making sure they have quality of life, like, really due to Marxists, like, I guess, but do you think you could get better reasoning for that?
It would be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. This is a hard one because social programs do a lot of good when they're properly implemented and they're not corrupt and things are going fine. However, private charity is often more efficient at what it's trying to do.
So, I do not like the idea of a private charity, but let me get your opinion real quick.
So, should we abolish social programs? No. Are private charities better at what they...
Welcome, comrade. Thank you, comrade. Thank you. You're not a Marxist, but social programs, you're doing it. You're doing it, boy.
They do. Generally, yes. So I guess I'm neutral on that. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. I mean, yes, but only to a certain extent. There's definitely an argument to be made that, like, you should tax people who are extraordinarily wealthy and fund, a basic healthcare system.
So, don't you think maybe you might be a little agreed with the Socdems and maybe try to have a conversation economically and not try to, like, wean people from this idea of like their social politics and communism and morality. Because honestly, I don't think your buddy Sargon would like the taxes.
Reasonable. Canada does it. The UK does it. It
Yeah,
hasn't destroyed our countries yet. And
you're right though.
a shitty healthcare service like the one that Canada has
Damn.
is better than having no healthcare service and going into
Y'all
debt
got some pretty good healthcare though.
for millions of dollars over something, that frankly you shouldn't be going into debt over. Like if you're born with a pre-existing condition and you're just fucked.
Okay, but that's like the whole idea of, oh, I'm not a Marxist, but his needs be covered though. Like that's the whole thing. You shouldn't go into debt for something you were born with. So why should you struggle? Why should you try to have to make your own whenever you don't have the ability?
Why should you be owing millions of dollars? Like it seems a bit unfair.
Thank you.
So I agree. I don't strongly agree, but I agree.
See, like I really do feel that like you have more in common with leftists than you do, and it sucks because look, dude, like your actual politics versus the like hamminess of your like SFO personality is actually pretty based. It's pretty based. And I have been getting on you and I get it, maybe it is more in jest, but it would be interesting to have a conversation with you on this.
Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. Absolutely, strongly agree. Because when you own property, it is your right to do whatever you want with it, including gift it.
You can lose it, so that's fair.
You want to gift it to anybody you want, including your kids. That is legitimate, so strongly agree. Basic utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that too. If it's one of those things that the entire community needs, then there's probably some man.
So I do feel as though it should be more like if you want to help build the roads, right? You should be able to like get a contract and do it, because waiting for them to build the roads is fucking terrible, my dude. But do I feel like electricity should be publicly owned? I do wonder, because there is like, how would you do that,
Mandate there to ensure that every citizen has some kind of fair access to the service. So yeah.
Welcome, comrade.
Government intervention is a threat to the economy. I do agree, actually, quite a bit. Again, there are a few tiny instances where the government intervention might actually save something, but for the most part, governments tend to fuck up economies, so I agree.
It'd be cool to see you expand on this.
Those with a greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. Yes.
Okay, so like, but why though? But why? You strongly agree with this, but if healthcare was just free, it wouldn't matter. Because it's like they would still be getting paid by the government. But I feel like this is just like, why should somebody who can't afford it just die? Like, that's stupid. Like, there is a quality to the American, Canadian, UK, anyone's life that I feel like should be covered by healthcare. It should be a human right to live, to exist.
I do agree for a minimum standard of care for those people who can't afford it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pay for something better, just like private schools.
But why though? But why should you even have to pay for it?
Right of all people. Now, I know what they mean by this. They're thinking that if you hit disagree, then you think you don't believe that people deserve to have a quality education. It's not what I believe at all. I actually do believe that people should have a quality education, but it's not a right. Rights are very specific things. Rights are things that they're basically infinite in supply. They can only be taken away from you. They can't be given to you. So quality education is a good thing, and a developed country should be spending a lot of money on its education where necessary. But is it a right? No. So.
Okay, but like, how is it not a right? I get it that you think that like anything free is like a Marxist kind of thing, but honestly though, the idea that we one day, because of our bad economy, because of the ability of people to not get that education, because we're going to run into people who can't afford it. And if you don't make that a right, people are just going to go into debt. People are going to try and fail, and then we're going to be out of doctors. Why not just make it a right, though, Welcome, comrade. Just, come on.
The means of production should belong to the workers who use them.
Yes.
No, it should belong to the people who made them or bought them. This is more commie bullshit.
Okay, but like, who made them or bought them? So, it doesn't make any sense, because you say like they should not have anything in the commodity form, right? So you say, well, no worker should have access. But like if you make a car, why shouldn't you get access to a car? If you work at Walmart, why can't you get access to food? You know, like if you're spending your time doing this for a company, they're getting money from you. Why should you not be paid for your labor in a sense? Like why can't I work under a company but then, hey, you've been doing good. Hey, you are a worker. Here, have something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we work almost all our lives, a lot of us normal people. So why should we make so much money for a company we'll never see that we may not get a chance to, get better in? Why can't they support us as we support them,
United Nations should be abolished. This is one of the things that I actually swung on quite a bit in the past 5 to 10 years.
I have no opinion.
I would have said strongly disagreed before. Now I agree. And it's mainly because, have you seen the amount of corrupt shit coming out of the United Nations recently? It's kind of wild.
That would, it'd be cool if you had like some form of like something there just to like, you know what I mean? I get it. You're doing the 8 values test and trying to push it and just get it through. But honestly, man, I think,
military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. Yes, of course. Like, any nation can say yes for this.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I do feel like war is kind of cringe.
I support regional unions, such as the European Union. Now, the thing with regional unions is that sometimes they're just like...
I don't really know.
Trading blocks, which are generally fine. Sometimes they're military alliances, which are generally fine. The EU, however, is this neo-lib nightmare proto-state that's desperately trying to basically turn all of the countries into like vassal states. So I just
that's a little wild, my dude. I don't know, man. That's a little wild. That's a little wild. I think that one you should definitely try to expand on because, I mean, neolibs are cringe, but I don't really think,
disagree with their example of the EU, but I do believe that regional unions can often be okay, so I'm going to go neutral on it. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. Yes, of course it is.
But is it though? Because I feel like that question kind of assumes that we're not... I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe I kind of think in the way you think, where I feel like in your head you're like saying, oh, well, we should not have like foreigners come in and change our ideas as a nation, but honestly, I do kind of feel a little oof about that. So it would be it'd be cool for you to expand on the ones that you kind of skipped through,
The united world government would be beneficial to mankind. No, it would not. It would not because it's devolution of powers that
I don't actually know
make societies more free. Like
I feel like as one nation and a government there is so much of different countries and different ideas. Like, I think we should have some form of, like, left-leaning human rights for the world where, we don't kill gays, we don't, like, harass women, we don't just hate people to hate. But I do feel as, like, a world government does feel like that would be stretched too thin. So you're right.
If you're voting for somebody who lives half a world away, they're not going to give a shit about you.
I mean, that's kind of what we do now. Like, I feel like we really vote for, like, a president. We vote for, like, a lot of people who don't even, like, give a fuck who we are.
Voting for somebody where the power structure is closer to where you live and is it's a little bit smaller and therefore it's a little bit more local, It is more likely that your needs will be represented by that structure. So, strongly disagree.
The government actually representing us, that's funny.
It is more important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. I think those are probably equal, You should be strong in case you have to fight, but if you can opt for peace, then you should opt for peace.
So yeah, you're right. That's fine. I agree.
Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. Yeah, I agree with that. If you have to go to war, it's
no. We don't do the killing of innocents, my dude. You have to justify it. Like, that is your fucking conservative bullshit. Please, no kill, my dude. That's not a good idea. Okay.
Some third party who's not taking any side.
Like,
you shouldn't.
If we are attacked, then we should be able to attack, but we should not be able to attack for no reason.
do that's like, no, maybe there's a reason you're going to war. Maybe there's a good
No.
reason, in fact. So,
No.
no, I agree with this.
No.
Military spending is a waste of money. I strongly disagree. We live in a world
I definitely think it should be cut
where, and again, this isn't
by
something
a
that I've
lot
probably changed
and
on
put
over the
in
past
other
10 years.
things.
But we live in a
Because-
world with a resurgent China.
I mean,
China-
dude, but like China doesn't have the military we have, and we have like so much backup shit. We basically sell it to cops.
Is fucking everyone everywhere, and we need a deterrent, frankly. The West needs to basically grow a backbone and stand up to them. So strongly disagree. International aid is
Somewhere that Red Scare shit.
a waste of money. I disagree as well. There are definitely times when like international aid
Yeah.
kind of goes into the wrong pockets.
Mm.
You know, a little bit corrupt. People skim it too much off the top. Stuff doesn't go to where it's supposed to go. But when it works, it's obviously good. You know, charity's obviously good.
I think,
My nation is great. Yeah, I agree with that.
debatable.
Canada is objectively one of the better nations in the world.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
There's no
So-
comparing us to some Islamic shithole.
Come on, man. Can we not be Islamophobic for no reason? You're Canadian. I don't feel like you deal with like the idea. Like I feel like that's more of a taught mindset, and the idea of being hatred and full of hatred than, trying to actually understand the different cultures and because I feel like I see Muslims all the time. Like I work at a fucking food place. Like I see the people, and I feel like there is a difference between the militarized YouTube Muslim extremist that Sargon likes to use versus like the real human beings that exist. Like, come on, my dude, let's humanize people, okay?
Mistreats gay people, mistreats women. No.
I mean,
Yeah, Canada's pretty great.
it sucks, but like, I don't know, man. I still feel like you're not you're hating them because they're Islamophobic, and you're not really caring about the women and minorities. You just care about the fact that you hate them, which I would like to hear you talk more about being pro-women and pro-LGBT, but I feel like you're just using them as a stepping stone to be hateful.
Research should be conducted on an international scale. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Generally. Like,
That's fine.
it should be basically, if it's something that's important, like space research or like coronavirus research or something, generally
Yeah,
you have
that's
multiple
fine.
space agencies working together from multiple countries. You have private and public businesses all working together. Like for the coronavirus vaccine, the Americans, the Canadians, the Brits, the French, and the Germans, they're all working together on it. Like they all have their own projects, but they're sharing their research. And I think that is kind of how you get things done if you really need to get things done. So yeah, I agree. Governments should be accountable to the international community. I mean, yes and no. Again, like if a government is blatantly violating the human rights of its citizens,
Yeah, that's fine.
yes.
Yeah.
But there are definitely instances where other countries are just like meddling, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, fuck off, dude. Like you're not part of this. So I'm gonna go neutral because there are times when this statement is true, and times when it's false. So
Yeah.
neutral.
You're right.
Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Like if you're fighting a legitimate authoritarian government and you have to actually, engage in a civil war, then no. Like there are times where you have to use violence against authoritarians.
Damn. Are we just mask off right now, and like, are you supporting BLM right now? Because that's basically what's going on, my dude.
But you have to be measured with it. You have to understand, like,
No.
okay,
No. Like, the fact that people, even though they're protesting, cops are still murdering and putting bags on people's heads. Like, that's authoritarian as fuck, my dude. Like, America could be good, but I definitely feel that, like, cops need to chill the fuck out. And I do feel like when you protest and you summon all the police, that is authoritarian. But I do feel like maybe this could be a speakable piece, and definitely more of like an understanding, like, hey, people really do see it as authoritarian,
okay, you are now violating the social contract because you believe that your government is just too authoritarian to
I mean,
to tolerate anymore.
yeah.
And that might be the case. But when it comes to like the Antifa fucks, they believe that that's the case, and yet it very clearly isn't.
Okay, but I feel like you're just being anti-left, and I don't feel like you're looking into it. I feel like you're just hating on Antifa as being left,
You have to, like, one, you have to win, because if you don't win, you're going to get fucked.
I mean,
but two,
yeah.
you also have to understand exactly what you're doing. So, I disagree.
So, okay. I agree with Black Lives Matter. I do have some opinions about Antifa to where they can be a little extra, and a lot of the times we get some bad optics on the left because they definitely do be angry, but I do feel that they come from a place of actual anger that it's just been so long and so hard. They're just angry, you know?
But there's, like, this is a hard one. This is actually a hard one. I don't know if I'm neutral or disagree.
Come on.
I don't know.
Why you gotta fight
I'll
it?
hit disagree. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. No. I don't. I mean, I'm an atheist, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. I don't really have religious values. If you want to spread atheism, like, go ahead. But I actually don't really care. As long as people aren't hurting anybody, I don't care what they believe.
Yeah, religion cringe.
Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Yes, because our values are capitalism and liberalism and democracy. It doesn't matter whether that's parliamentary
liberalism. So you're a lib?
Democracy, or whether it's, Republican democracy. But either way, yeah, we live in objectively the best civilizations on Earth right now. Those should be spread. It is very important to maintain law and order. Yeah, generally. Yeah, I agree. I guess there's probably...
So, I mean, it depends what they do. Like, I do feel that we should have cops arresting, and it should be judged by a jury of people, but I do feel that we are not in law and order because cops are not executioners, and I feel like by law and order most people mean executioners.
Explain that one, right? Sorry, I jumped ahead too quickly.
I really don't think so, because when we have like a large majority, 99%, and whenever you have such a high percent of lower class, I do feel like they aren't making a bad choice, but trying to tell you what they need.
Yeah, like, there are definitely times when you have to fight the power.
Yeah.
For the most part, democracy is still getting things done. So no, the general populace makes poor decisions. I'm neutral on this, frankly, because you have some really dumb fucking people out there who are in positions of power, and you have some really smart people who are kind of, stuck in a hole and can't really do anything because of the circumstances of their life. Then you also have some dumb people who put themselves there, and then you have some smart people who are where they should be. So
I don't know. I feel like this question is more of an open statement of, would the 99% make a better choice than the 1%? But I guess that's fair.
Like, the general populace is an entire range of people who are very smart.
But they would be easily able to tell what they want, Like, don't you feel like if the majority wants something, that it's something they need, and if they get it, maybe they're like, oh, well, maybe it was kind of bad, I don't feel like the general populace itself is the problem. I feel like it's the way it's implemented through, like, shitty bills,
And very dumb. So sometimes they make poor decisions, sometimes they don't. I'm just going to go neutral. Physician-assisted suicide should be legal. Yes.
Yeah.
I strongly agree with that. Well, here's the thing.
I agree with you.
I strongly agree, but there's also potential for it to be abused, so there has to be, like, something there.
I mean, honestly, I don't really think of it being abused. I just think if people want to fucking die, this can fucking die,
Sure, it's not abused, but I still strongly agree. Yeah.
Abused,
Sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. No, fuck you, NSA. Strongly disagree. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. No, fuck you, NSA. I strongly disagree.
Yeah, agreed.
The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. No, I strongly disagree.
I mean, honestly, I think state-by-state basis, we definitely would be better to have, like, more open...
State should be restrained because its power is incredible, and if it's turned on its own people, that's disastrous.
Yeah.
But you still need the state. You still need some kind of apparatus there to make sure that your rights aren't violated and that something can happen to those people who violate other people's rights. So, if...
I do wish that, like, states were better off being able to have, like, their own, like, not specific laws, but kind of give people... if a state really thinks like we should be legal, I would love to see more states, push for it and have like this better, like area where the state could be for a certain type of person that thinks a certain type of way, and the state kind of be more multifaceted and multifunded by like the people they're in. And definitely, like, it would be cool if I don't want to say laws should be state by state. I think the federal, most shit should be legal, but it would be cool if states kind of did try to push more for the openness of being the state and how your state runs.
Someone steals your purse on the street, and then the cop who's around the corner sees it, chases after the robber, and like tackles him, and then handcuffs him and takes him away. That is unprovoked force by the officer, but it's still necessary because that is basically the state attempting to rectify the violation of your rights. Therefore, you need a state. You need some kind of night watchman. So, I disagree. Regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with your country.
No.
I'm neutral on this. There are times when your country does legitimately evil things and you can't side with it.
Yeah, that's
but then there are times when your differences are minor and it's time to act because there's a greater evil out there, and you have to kind of go along with it. You should
always just question, honestly.
So I'm neutral.
I'm neutral. Don't be a simp.
All authority should be questioned. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course it should be.
That's cool.
Jesus Christ, hierarchical state is best. Not only is it best, it's the only type of state that can exist.
I mean, honestly, though, couldn't we have just like a commune of people who just kind of run? And if we do have somebody who handles a bit more, but maybe have somebody that does that. But it would be cool to see the idea of people running their state versus like one guy running a state poorly.
Like, no, you don't get your stateless society. You don't get your classless, governmentless society where everyone just lives in a commune. No, doesn't exist. Will never work. We are social creatures, therefore we trend toward organization. Strongly agree.
Do we though?
It is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it's wrong. No, the government should not. The government can basically.
But what is wrong though? Like, wrong is to the person. Wrong isn't to, like the government's. Like, there is no morality of the idea of wrong. Like, I think, if you get somebody who says, "Hey, let's blow up a state," and they follow you, that is a wrong idea. But to the individual, like, that could be the right idea. So I feel like the idea of right and wrong is so weird.
Hold a vote, and then the majority can vote to exterminate a minority population, and then the government should follow that? No. There has to be restraint on government power.
But the problem is, if your government does agree with it, then your government is siding with that idea.
We cannot simply bend to the tyranny of the majority in a democracy. Democracy is important, but it's not the only part, and there's a reason why it's not the only part.
Yeah, you're right.
I disagree.
It's not the only part, but I do feel it.
The stronger the leadership, the better. I'm neutral in this because you have strongmans who are very clearly just fascists taking over, and then you have strong leadership that is needed but is still legitimate. So neutral.
Yeah, that's fine.
Democracy is more than a decision-making process.
Yes.
I would generally agree with that because it's also representation, isn't it? Like, you elect people to make decisions in Parliament or whatever, but it's not just that. Yeah.
I guess it does kind of have morality.
Environmental regulations are essential. I agree. I actually do agree on this.
Welcome,
I think
Green
the free
Party.
market argument falls flat when it comes to the environment, because if you have, say, a company that just dumps a bunch of radioactive waste into the river, and then downriver an entire town dies, yeah, the free market will fix that because that company will go out of business since everyone hates them for killing a town. But we can get to that point without the people in the town dying.
I mean,
right?
I do feel
there are some things government can do, and I think environmental regulation is one of them. So I agree.
I wish they followed it.
A better world will come from automation, science, technology. I strongly agree, actually.
Yeah,
I think our future is pretty bright, all things considered.
Mm.
Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. Neutral on this.
Yeah,
neutral.
That's fine.
Maybe even disagree. Like, it's up to them. It's up to the kids to figure out where they want to go in their lives, So let's just choose neutral.
Yeah.
Traditions are of no value on their own. Absolutely not. And I'm not even a traditionalist, but they obviously have some value. There's obviously something that is more than the sum of its parts holding cultures together. And even though it's important to challenge traditions, even though it's important to discard traditions when necessary, when they've become tyrannical, or they've become oppressive. Even when it's important to change traditions or
Christmas
introduce new ones.
Though.
The tradition itself still has some value, so I disagree. Religion should play a role in government. No, it should not.
Good boy. Good job.
Churches should be taxed the same way that other institutions.
Yes. Come on, say yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not, If money changes hands, it should be taxed. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life.
No.
See, I don't think it is. I think climate change is real. But I think the great ecological disaster of our time is not even climate change, it's plastic in the oceans. That's a very different problem. Climate change is small potatoes compared to plastic in the oceans. So I'm kind of neutral on this. It's not. No, I guess I disagree. It is not. It is a threat, but it is not nearly one of the greatest threats. It is important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. Now, this I can actually agree with, because even though climate change is not one of the greatest threats, it is still somewhat of a threat. Yeah. And it will take everyone getting involved in order to fix the problem. Canada and the US and Europe and all these other places, they can do their part, but if China and India just don't give a shit, the problem's not going to get fixed.
Yeah, there definitely is that issue of
Canada
certain people.
Outputs, what, 1-2% of the entire world's emissions? We can't do shit. All of our politicians over here in Canada, they're like, we got to solve the... It's like, no, we can't do anything, dude.
Yeah,
we're a small player in this regard. We can't do...
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. The one thing that sucks is whenever you have, arbiters of, ecological change, and it feels like because of the, sensitivity or, kind of going to the more populated countries of America and telling them hey, climate change, but then we're not really the main inners. But if you kind of just forget about that message and you don't go everywhere and not everybody agrees with it, then you just kind of be like Greta and you kind of just disappear, because you can't really disappear. Your message really doesn't mean anything if you can't really target the main problems, which I don't really feel is a big issue of race or culture. I definitely feel that certain countries do put in more, but it is kind of an issue of plants and kind of Americans, sending their vehicle power plants and everything over to China, whatever.
Shit.
But fucking sucks.
Society was better many years ago than it is now. Strongly disagree. There is no time other than this era, the modern era, the internet era.
Yeah, it can't make America great. Hey.
This is great, man. All things considered, things are getting better for everyone at a pace we've never seen before. We literally live in a golden age of everything. This is amazing.
Honestly, though, not really, because if you're, we do have social issues that it does still suck to be a woman. It still does. Black people are still getting killed by cops. Healthcare is still shit. People are dying. COVID. Yeah, we do live in the best where you can turn on a video game and play all that shit. But we have cars, but still feels like we are missing out on a lot, especially health-wise and, social.
It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. Yeah, a little bit, sure. I don't agree with all traditions.
Christmas.
However, Christmas. It is people's freedom to do so.
Christmas.
And also, they're not all bad, So agree.
Christmas.
It is important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespans. Yes, I also agree with this. There are things that need to be done that we won't see the fruits of. At some point, we're going to have to go to the stars. And
this is pretty good.
You and I won't see that, but doesn't mean we shouldn't at least, put a few bricks in that wall. Let's agree. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Yeah, I'm neutral on that one. Partially because our culture is reason.
The idea definitely of if something doesn't make sense in our culture, then get rid of it, Fuck it. That's stupid.
But also
That's
partially
cringe.
Because, you can't simply have your culture. You can't simply have your traditions because they're old. They're stale. Sometimes they don't understand what's going on.
So I'm going to fast forward a bit because I'm kind of getting where he's coming from, and I think I just kind of want to hear the end of it. And, I don't want to sit and just evaluate the man and talk over him. I think I've kind of gotten the point, but I do want to, see the finish line.
All others. No. First of all, this is a very vague statement, but, generally no.
Yeah,
Like
that's a
my
pretty,
group
like,
is humanity in a sense.
yeah, that question's a little fucky.
Here we go. Check it out. Centrist. Economic axis. I'm slightly more markets than equality. Okay. Diplomatic axis. Balanced. I am 60 nation, 40 world. Okay. Civil axis. Moderate. I am 60 liberty, 40 authority. All right. Societal axis. Progressive. I am 40% tradition, 60% progress.
Okay, so that's you know, I get it. Like, hey man. So I think with the whole, I'm gonna call mask off the Twitter mask. I do think as a reasonable person, you are left leaning. But the problem is there is a lot of gatekeeping. And I really, really, really think that you should kind of push to kind of enter those circles, maybe question yourself a little bit. Like, I don't feel as though you are as authoritarian, and I mean fascism. Ugh, it sucks because honestly, man, like you are down the pipeline. You are off Sargon. You made videos, but I feel like with Sargon being feels like one of your biggest influencers when it comes to the way you think, but I don't think you're that bad. Like, I think you're a reasonable person. It's just your conservatism definitely does come out more because you just don't like them. And I feel like taking the morality and your feelings out of it, like, I think if you and Shu are probably close, no scar, but I think for the most part is being a centrist is kind of right of where everything is right now. And yeah, you are more right because you do think the conservatives have some things good about them. And nobody really feels this way anymore. I think once the post Black Lives Matter and everything does calm down and people kind of center out and we do get things, they will be more left. But I do feel as though you I feel like there's hope. I feel like there's a chance that when you take the idea of conservatism being a centrist, like, I don't know, I think it's just a way of viewing people that comes from like a white male centric. But after watching this video, I've seen a lot of your stuff, I I just don't think you're that bad. I think it's just all like Twitter mask and I have been kind of baity, I have been arguing, I have been in a certain way, but I think it was a definitely interesting take to kind of see you do most of the test, kind of listen to your reasonings, but you can tell your little qualms and little things from, like, I feel like you just hear words and get mad and not and I really hope that if you do see there is something that could maybe push that centrism a little left and not right, because I feel like you being it's weird because, like, Canadian, I understand you kind of see our perspective from a different point of view, but I really, really think post internet where, it's you're not watching Sargon, you're not watching Andy No, that there is a chance, you know, you could get better. But I think this was an interesting watch. I'm tired and hungry. So hopefully, like, I don't think you really care about the words that come out of my mouth. I kind of personally just wanted to watch this video and talk about you and just kind of get my piece out. And hopefully everything was kind of taken in good faith. I don't want you to think I was just here to like beat the shit out of you, because I'm just a dude watching a video. You're just a dude who makes videos. But if you do get a chance to watch this, I would like you to check your ideas and kind of see where personally you stand. Not a stupid test, not a stupid questions, but like kind of do the you test. And I think maybe just question more. But that's kind of my take. It was a decent video. Hopefully the video's not